But yeah, let's see what we had to say.
Most eye-opening things that's ever been done on this whole gender confusion thing that we're going through right now in our culture. And it was just like one of those things where I had to watch. Like, so many people were like, you have to see this. You have to see this. And I expected it to be like, I mean, I thought it would be like arguments with people, or it would be very, very confrontational, but instead, I think you did it masterfully. What you did is you just let these people explain themselves the way they would talk if you weren't there, the way they would talk to people.
But why are you removing the nuance between finding something funny and whether you believe in it or not? What? Bro, you can make funny jokes about trans people. I make funny jokes about trans people all the fucking time. Dave Chappelle has even actually made some funny jokes about trans people, calling trans pussy, beyond pussy, impossible meat pussy, okay? Like, that's packaged in between, like, just him straight up saying, I'm transphobic. I'm a TERF, okay? Like, that's the problem. That's the issue. The difference between someone being able to craft a joke about trans people versus just saying, lol, trans people are fucking weird, right? And like pointing at them, is how much you understand the trans experience. And if you don't understand that experience, and this doesn't, just stop focusing on this as just a trans thing, because it's basically a universal value. If you can't comprehend the subject matter that you're covering, you're not going to be able to make really interesting and actually funny, insightful jokes. Okay? It's just that simple. That's the difference between Dave Chappelle making jokes about black culture and black existence in America and like some racist shock jock saying, lol, black people are this way or black people are that way. Am I right? Black people drive like this. Like, that's the main difference. One is an outsider who does not understand the black existence, okay? Just pointing the finger at black people and reinforcing usually, racist tropes, okay? Versus the other person is a black person who truly understands the experience and can craft brilliant narratives off of that. Okay? That's the difference. That's the difference between Steven Crowder and Dave Chappelle talking about black people. Okay? Damn, what the fuck? So many people in this chat like Nanette? Yes, of course. Why do you think they fucking despise humor? There are so many people who go, oh my God, no jokes. What the fuck? No jokes. How dare you? Yes, that's why they like Nanette, because they just don't like jokes. Just say you don't understand comedy, for fuck's sake. Yeah, dude, I don't. You definitely understand comedy more than I do, for sure. You have to know your subject matter to make fun of it is like pretty basic shit. Anyway, and it was just for a different demographic than you, Hasan, and that's okay. Listen, the reason why I don't like Nanette is because the main point in Nanette is literally that even if you are talking about your own personal marginalization, people are ultimately making fun of that and they're laughing at that. And that is something that I am entirely against, okay? Comedy can have a purpose. I believe, as far as art goes, comedy's specific purpose can be about communicating the existence of marginalization in a funny way to a broader audience that can also understand it, okay? Not only just for fun. I'm talking about something beyond that. Obviously, comedy is first and foremost for fun, for ha-has, okay? Nanette's entire point was, even if you're a lesbian and you've been hate crimed as a lesbian, don't talk about those experiences, because I realized, like, when I was making those jokes, people were laughing at me. And that's crazy. That's a crazy way to fucking approach comedy. You're just not a comedian. And of course, a lot of liberals that want to do this, okay? A lot of liberals that want to do this are going to do that. What a straw man. Okay, dude. Whatever. Anyway. It's lip shit, but it's harmless. Yes, of course it's harmless. I just don't like it. Saying that I don't like it, saying that that's just a TED talk that's anti-comedy, doesn't mean that like it should not be allowed to be said or whatever the fuck. You can like it. I don't. Okay? That's it. It's not a full indictment. After all, Hannah returned to comedy after it. You can still take a message from it even though you don't fully agree with the show point because life goes on. At least that's what I took from it. Sure. I think it's funny and appreciate using a large platform to talk about lesbophobia and trauma. But yeah, it's an annoying lip take on comedy, which sadly a lot of people have gone through, because they're literally triggered non-pejoratively. Yeah. Anyway. How long until you become transphobic? It's only a time before you turn back to being transphobic. Is it only a matter of time before you turn back to being transphobic? Being phobic anything? Wait, what? Why would I do that? Like, I've been very open about having transphobic opinions originally and like learning from and truly understanding that I was wrong. Why would I? What? This guy got so horny that he was like, he couldn't even fucking type it out perfectly. Aren't you taking a piss on gay people now? The only gay person I've taken a piss on is your dad, okay? Because he asked me to last night after I fucked him. You understand?
People who agree with what they're saying. And by not pushing back, I think you allowed them to let all the crazy out. And it's like, it's hard to describe to people that aren't aware of what's going on, of how wild this stuff has gotten. But first of all, tell me, what was the process of making this? Like, how long did it take? What was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, thanks for talking about it so much on your podcast, by the way. It's been a huge boost for us. And we, I had this idea. You'd really have to go back several years because it occurred to me maybe back in, 2017 that when this transgender stuff was starting to really gain mainstream traction, which I think happened really, that was like maybe when Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn Jenner. That was the moment that I think it exploded onto the mainstream. Not when it began, but it exploded onto mainstream. Right around that time, it sort of occurred to me that the people promoting this stuff have a problem, which is that we're supposed to accept someone like Bruce as a woman, but then what exactly does that mean? What are we accepting him as? Like he says, I identify as a woman. Well, what are you identifying as? What are we, if you're a woman, well, I know what a woman was before, but if now we're including a guy like Bruce.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think you did. I don't think you did. That's cap. That's just what it is, It's like, I didn't know what a woman was. I thought I knew what a woman was. It's like, why are they making something so understandable complicated? It's on purpose. He's being purposely obtuse in order to draw home a larger narrative, which is that, that he just finds it confusing. Because a lot of people do. Because of social conditioning, okay? He knows a lot of people find it confusing, and that's precisely why he's covering it this way. He's like, oh, it's just like weird. I'm just asking questions. Like, no, that motherfucker's not asking questions. Okay? I think you underestimate how stupid he is. No, brother. That person is not fucking behaving that way. He has uncovered antiquated trans documents from like the fucking primitive accumulation period just so he can be more transphobic. Are you fucking stupid? These people like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh know more about trans shit than fucking trans people do. They literally are like at the cutting edge of trans news. They're straight up every day. They're like Googling what's happening right now with the trans community just so they can be more transphobic. Come on. They talk about trans shit more than trans people do, bro. What the fuck? It's his bread and butter. His bread and butter is just like constantly fucking shitting on trans people. It's like at its most, okay? You are it's occupying such a gigantic space in your fucking mind. It is so deeply unhealthy. Okay? It is so incredibly unhealthy to just like constantly think about anything this much. If you were this obsessed with anime, I'd tell you, dude, you need to fucking dial it back, okay? Anyway, that's the goal though. And it is mental illness. Like, I think it straight up is mental illness. When you're so obsessed with trans people that like your entire life revolves around shitting on trans people and like finding the newest thing that is happening in the trans community just so you can like, you know, shit on trans people better. It's crazy. You're not normal. You need help. Like, it's breaking your brain. For him, there's also a second component here. He's making money off this. This is his bread and butter. This is how he makes money. For someone like Dave Chappelle, it kind of ruins his comedy. Like, he puts out 3 or 4 more specials constantly just ripping into trans people. I don't think that he's going to have the same fucking audience that he already had. I don't think he's going to maintain the same audience like that he had unless he switches away from that. As far as like, is it so difficult for you to understand a simple scientific fact and just realize and admit to yourself that trans women are not actually women? Not saying that you are. Okay, so you are utilizing 2 different fucking concepts and merging them together. Womanhood and gender is a social construct that we have decided off of contextual cues, right? We look at a person, they got titties, they got long hair, they don't have like a fucking beard, right? And we're like, oh, that's probably a woman. Okay, that's just it. That's how it works. That is not the scientific process. As far as the scientific process goes, okay, which you have no fucking clue what it is, okay? As far as the scientific process goes, that's not how you comprehend whether someone's a woman or not. There are a million examples that I have shown time and time again of trans people that you don't even know that they're trans, that you would never point to as a trans person, like that you would never point to as like the opposite gender that they are, okay? Like Buck Angel. And I'm not even like I'm not like a trans medicalist or trust scum or whatever the fuck, but like as far as the entry point goes into this conversation, there are so many examples of people that completely break your comprehension, break your understanding of what gender means. I mean, come on, little bro. We know you aren't that nefarious. Or trans takes weren't great since the beginning, but if you make a wrong move, it'll be really bad for your look in the WL community, especially if you come off as a goblin with a virtue signal approach. Might have to ask Big Uncle to help out with connections to this new generation. Dude, I think I despise, straight up, I despise motherfuckers that think they know better than I do. Like, that come in here and just like when people come in here and just like pop off like, bro, I know better than you what your intentions are. It's just like, you don't. You're a fucking loser at home. You have no idea. Like, who the fuck is Big Uncle? Holy shit. Anyway. I think the concept, the gender binary is based on binary sex, which in itself is a flawed concept. Yes, there is also the existence of intersex people. So even the biological gender, which is sex, right? even on the biological front, it is not as rigid as people previously understood it. But also, I do get it. Like, I get why it's a confusing subject matter, okay? Especially when you're first trying to understand it. You're like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, I get it. I've been through it. I personally went through that, okay? A lot of people in here went through that as well. As a matter of fact, a lot of people, quite literally, that are now trans, like came out as trans people, were probably some of the most avid fucking transphobic people. Okay? There are so many examples of this. There's going to be more agitators since the midterms? Yeah, probably. The issue with this conversation is that it is not as simple as the way people make it seem. But then also on the left, or in empathetic circles for the most part, or pro-trans circles, sometimes people do make it seem like, oh no, it's supposed to be super easy. Why don't you get it? You must be nefarious. As though they themselves didn't fucking have that exact same perspective not that long ago and had to unlearn that shit and relearn it so they know what it actually is, so they know what it's about. And that's frustrating as fuck too. And that really pushes people away, especially when the overwhelming majority of Americans in general are transphobic. They just are, and everybody knows this. All right? And this extends to whoever the fuck. If you're going to like point to Kai and Aiden or whatever, I haven't seen what they've said, but it's not shocking. It's not surprising. As a matter of fact, you know what would be surprising? If they were like, nah, I'm fucking super pro-trans people. What the fuck do you mean? That would be surprising. I'd be like, holy shit. And you would feel that way too. You'd be like, what the fuck? Aiden, who literally said, I'm a supporter of the LG community, okay? Turning around and just being pro-trans, you'd be like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? So why are you acting surprised? Who isn't? Like, trans people understand and recognize the reality that when they get into a fucking Uber, the Uber driver is probably transphobic, okay? When they're getting up to the fucking cash register to purchase something, the person is most likely transphobic. Everyone is. It's the sad and really scary and really awful reality for trans existence. We try to do our best here. We try to make it as safe as possible. But that is the reality. And there's so many fucking influencers out there who promote this shit, okay? And other influencers, before you say they're influencers though, okay, about Aiden and Kai, it's because the social conditioning across the board is already slanted towards transphobia. So, of course, Aiden Ross or Kai or whoever the fuck is going to have some level of transphobic beliefs, okay? Are you trans? No, I am not trans. And Apollo Nor, you are correct. It's literally better for you to maintain a good relationship and try to shift their position. This is the main impact on this platform. How don't they get it? You won't change them by being a dick about it. They're like 22 years old. Yeah, I know. But you're talking to fucking tender queers and people with a lot of like very jagged perspective, like edged perspectives that don't want to fucking understand that, there might be a different method of changing people's minds in an empathetic fashion. Hi, trans man here. You're transphobic because you're wasting precious time. You could be dunking on Matt Walsh. I know. Well, chatters are going crazy.
Bruce, then what is a woman now? And so I started asking this question. It was really basic, just like, what is a woman? What are you trying to say about womanhood now? And couldn't get anyone to answer it. I mean, and mostly it's just on Twitter, and challenging someone on the left. Just give me a definition. What's your definition of the word? And none of them would do it. So at a certain point, I thought, well, we have to find a way to go out and put this question in front of them. And that's sort of where the idea for the documentary came from. And we knew going in that we wanted three things. One is we have the we have the mission behind it, the message that we want to get across, but we also want it to be a piece of entertainment, because a lot of conservative documentaries, not all of them, but many of them are just, you feel like you're watching an extended version of a podcast or something. It's not a piece of entertainment. So we wanted it to be that. And then we also knew that the way this is going to work, if it works at all, is if I'm just asking questions. Because if it's me going on a tour around the country yelling at people, that would be satisfying for me emotionally, but it just wouldn't.
I love that he admits that. Like, he would be satisfied yelling at trans people around the country. Like that would be a satisfying thing for him emotionally. I wonder where all of this perspective is coming from, where all this resentment is coming from. Oh, wait, that's right. This motherfucker is straight up, he's got TERF-Brain, okay? It's a brain disease. It is a mental illness. It's not in the DSM yet, but it will be eventually, okay? There is no other way. I've been tracking transphobic motherfuckers for way too long. I'm telling you, there is literally a spectrum of being transphobic. On the one side, you have like normal transphobia. Everybody has it because you're like, oh, the gender is sex is the same thing. What the fuck's going on? Don't tell me anything different. That's all I've learned, okay? Pink is for girls. Blue is for men. That's how this works. What the fuck? Don't play with the G.I. Joes if you're a woman. Don't play with fucking Barbies if you're a man, right? That's like all conditioning. That's all social conditioning that you have learned since birth, okay? So like there is the regular stubbornness that comes from that, okay? And then the more you move on the fucking spectrum, the further you go towards like leaning into the transphobic takes because it gives you comfort, because it makes you feel like the world is not changing in ways that you cannot comprehend, right? And that signals to you that you are going to die soon, right? Because for many people, that is what that is, okay? That's why people are afraid of change. If we're going to think about the philosophical reasons as to why people are afraid of change, is because when change is happening and you cannot comprehend that change, it's signaling to you that the world is changing around you and you can no longer comprehend it. You're getting closer and closer to death, and the world looks very different than the way that you existed in it, okay? It's just a reminder of your mortality, and everybody has this. So, of course, the existence of trans people, or at least like the recognition of the existence of trans people, because trans people have always existed and will continue to exist, whether you push them aside or not, or try to, force them into shadows, try to get them to commit suicide or not. They still do exist. The way to look at this, regardless of your perspective on the matter, the way to look at this is through empathy. Okay? That's what you're supposed to do. Just your starting point should be empathy. Just let trans people exist. Who cares? That is where your starting point should be. Okay? Because that's all trans people want to do. There is no additional conspiracy. There's no like transing your children. None of that. It's just, they just want to fucking be normal and they want to coexist and cohabitate the spaces that we're in without constantly, looking over their shoulder thinking that someone's going to fucking destroy them. Okay? Also, when he got real genuine, and from that one professor, he just cut up his genuine, thoughtful response on what is a woman. He's a clown. He wasn't looking for an answer. He was looking for justification for his bias. Yes.
It wouldn't prove anything other than what people already know, which is that two sides yell at each other. So we wanted to give sort of gender ideology a chance to hang itself by its own incoherences, which I think is what happened.
I think you definitely
Yes, dude. The more this issue is, one of the main talking points with the psychos on the right, the more your trans friends need you to be there for them. Standing up for your trans friends is not just the right thing to do; it is powerful. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy not to Oh, Adam is here already. Speaking of trans people, we got a trans ally, trans defender that's here. Gotta open the door for him. Joe isn't even hiding his alt-right ideology anymore. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Adam Conover's here in the building. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. I'm live already. I'm live and talking about trans people and Joe Rogan. Two of your favorite subjects. Something you are personal experience with. Yeah. Give your guests a nicer chair, Hasan. I could do that. I have no issue with trans people. They can live a normal life, but I will admit that I've always struggled when someone claims gender is a social structure when I truly think that it is far from the whole picture. Yeah, you think that because you've misunderstood how gender works. It is a social construct. What you are confusing is the difference between gender and sex. And even sex in the way that you understand it is not as binary as you think it is. Like, no one on the planet is seriously saying that a trans woman has the same biological components as a cis woman, okay? Trans women are not saying this, but they are still women, okay? That's just how it works. It is so strange that, like, I feel like conservatives make it feel like they put this thing out in the energy. They throw this energy out there. They throw this idea out there as though, like, you know, trans women and cis women have like the same chromosomes or whatever the fuck. And it's like, well, some might actually, as a matter of fact, but that's not how that works. Like, no one is saying that. Oh yeah, you can sit down whenever you're here. You're good. You brought your own LaCroix?
I brought a LaCroix in my pocket.
That's crazy.
Well, I thought I would drink it in the Uber, and then I was like, I'm going to be nauseous in the Uber.
I have things that you could drink at this house, okay?
What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
Good to be here again.
That's right. We got Adam. Adam ruins the HasanAbi broadcast. He was so good last time. We're like, we got to have him back.
Hell yeah. I had a great time last time. People keep going to my like stand-up shows going, oh, you were great on Hasan. I was like, that was like 6 months ago. But okay, I'm glad you remember.
Damn, they still go back to that, huh? They still remember that.
They watch the VODs.
Yeah. Spindrift is better than LaCroix, Adam? What the fuck is Spindrift?
No, it fucking isn't.
I don't drink LaCroix. I think it's, as in the words of Jabuki, it tastes like Sprite through a condom. Tastes like you're drinking Sprite through a condom. No,
I think that's right, but that's all I drink. Is I drink. I don't care about the flavor. I just drink. It's about the sharpness of the bubbles. You know.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate it because like I'm such a big soda boy. Like I love diet beverages. Yeah. I'm a huge diet beverage.
I got back into diet beverages this year, man. I've been drinking so much Diet Coke and shit, and like right before a show, I'll get a little hyper on a Diet Coke.
Yeah, I love that. Wait, you can get hyper off of one Diet Coke?
I do, yeah.
You're like a baby. What the fuck? I wish.
I've strategically reduced my caffeine intake so that it has a larger impact on me now.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. I wish one day.
Yeah, I switched to black tea, and then I have Diet Coke in the afternoon.
Yeah. So we are watching. We're watching Joe Rogan talk to Matt Walsh. And this is how he started it off. Hold on. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing again, but this is literally the biggest self-report I've ever seen in my life. Look at this.
Your documentaries, I can't tell you how many people have asked me if I've seen it. I think
it's like, that's it. That you're just, dude, hang out with better people. Okay.
Yeah, for real. For real. How many people are asking you? What is it, Daily Wire? Is that what it is?
It's literally a fucking paywalled Daily Wire documentary. Okay? Like, I go out in the real world all the fucking time. Okay? I work out. There's a bunch of, like, meatheads There's a bunch of people that I'm around that are like Normans, right? They're not
Yeah.
like super politically in
Yeah.
tune with what's going on in the world. And they know what I do. They know I'm a politics guy. So they're going to ask me questions about politics. And they do from time to time ask me questions about politics. They've never been like, yo, have you seen the Matt Walsh What is a Woman documentary? Dog, that shit is fire. Like, that's not a... normal people don't have this conversation. It's just you have to be very motivated.
Yeah, you have to be so far down the rabbit hole to even know what the Daily Wire, frankly, is. Like, even like Ben Shapiro is like not famous. He's like famous among like online political people, etc. He's famous among Fox News people, but like the average person knows that shit is weird and is not like a hobbyist going to be watching fucking conservative propaganda shit.
Yeah, but there is definitely like a lot of brain broken people. There's a lot of brain broken people in this community that are also just like constantly and obsessively following every little thing that's going on in the world of politics. And your parents are probably doing that for the right-wing side. You know, they go from like every now and then tuning into Fox News to just like kind of being like, I want to learn a little bit more. I want to do my own research. I want to get into the nitty gritty of this stuff. So they then, go on YouTube and start watching dickheads like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and try to find like talking points to appear smart when they're having conversations with their, children that do not obey them and make them feel stupid. And in an effort to make themselves seem smart and intelligent, they repeat these talking points that they have watched on PragerU videos.
Yeah. PragerU is like much more, so many more people have seen PragerU than have seen this guy's thing. Like that shit is truly everywhere.
Yeah, it sucks.
The arc on this guy, though, on Joe over the last couple of years is pretty wild, where this is now his entire info diet he's like entirely in that ecosystem.
Yeah. Oh, fully. 100%.
When I went on his show like 3-4 years ago, almost 4 years ago. He was mostly having comedians on. He had views like this, but he doesn't say them as often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I, of course, as I said last time I was on, I was under the impression that he could have a conversation about them. And now he was like already, the brain worms were in there, and now he's like gone full, just that's just where he lives, and that's all he's like interested in doing or talking about.
Yeah, he I mean he was also the same guy who was like pumping up Milo and stuff, but like I think the fact that he is like the turning point for him, I believe, was most likely the COVID stuff. Like he moved to Texas, COVID broke his brain, or like the final shackles that like held him back from saying the dumbest thing imaginable all the goddamn time. That little voice in the back of your mind that tells you, hey man, maybe you shouldn't say this, or hey man, maybe you should look at some other other sources of information, that went away.
Well, COVID scrambled like so many people in the country. I remember when it started, when COVID first started, I remember thinking this is going to scramble politics in America, because you're going to have, a big thing that happened was, left wing or like progressive-ish goopy style people, like hippie anti-authoritarians, because the right like claimed the don't listen to doctors, don't listen to scientists. They claimed that mantle. Then a whole bunch of people who were anti-authoritarians on the left like move over to the right, shit like that, or just paranoid folks. And I think the same thing happened here. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. People have done all those like clip compilations of how he talked about scientists before COVID versus after.
Before COVID, he talked about vaccines. Is like, dude, of course you got to get it. And like post COVID, he's like, you don't need to get it. Come on, don't get it, guys. If you're healthy, like you shouldn't get it. Actually,
yeah. I mean, it's one of the worst consequences of COVID was it made anti-vaxxers like a mainstream political orientation. But because before this, they were like. They were like flat earthers. They were like some of the craziest people. Oh my God, anti-vax people. I literally had a TV show pitch, and part of the pilot was that we would do like the truth about vaccines and talk about like the anti-vaccination lobby and shit like that. And we came up with it before COVID, and then afterwards had to throw it all out because the face of anti-vax was like completely different in the country.
But make no mistake, like we have always had our fucking psychos here. I mean, so Andrew Wakefield is a perfect example of this. He is the reason why you think like vaccines cause autism, right? He's a British former doctor, and he conducted these like faulty studies that he totally made up because he was trying to sell his vaccine and not the original like I think it was, what was it called, the actual vaccine was like a
MMR
combination.
vaccine?
The MMR was a combination vaccine. He wanted to sell them individually. So that's the reason why he like made up this fucking shit study, totally made up study. And guess what happened? He was ridiculed, and he was no longer a doctor in England.
The paper from the Lancet.
And then immediately America was like, please come to us. He lives in like a fucking fat compound in Austin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Has like a model girlfriend, like
He's made a ton of money off of it.
Yeah.
Like Jenny McCarthy made a ton of money off of it. Like it's a cliche to say it's a grift, but it is a grift.
Yeah, it's just, but America loves it, is what I'm saying. America runs on Duncan, and America runs on, you know, some of the most unhinged, the weirdos. And basically, you know, that was like many years before the COVID stuff. But, you know, we the reason why I'm explaining this is because we had the perfect opportunity. It was a powder keg waiting to explode, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, hbomberguy's video on this is really good. You are correct.
Yeah.